Hey, listeners, you may have heard that we're putting on a super cool new writing challenge in January, complete with a space and a place to join up with other writers to try to write every day or as much as you can.
That's right. It is JanYourStory. It is coming soon. In short, JanYourStory is a challenge to write 500 words every day in January. Importantly, it's free. You're invited to write with hundreds of other writers to start your 2026 with a writing streak. And then you can keep that streak going all year by being in our community, in the Memoir Nation community, and seeing what we have in store for you for the rest of the year. Grant, I know I just said that it's free, but what are some of the other important things?
Let's repeat that.
Yeah, let's repeat it for sure. What should people know?
It's free.
Yes.
It's low pressure. It's part of Memoir Nation, but you do not have to be writing memoir to participate. JanYourStory is about writing, celebrating writing, getting writing done in January, creating momentum for the year. And if you complete the challenge, you'll have written 15,000 words in just a month, which is such a motivating way to begin the year.
It really is. So join us and hundreds of other writers. Go to memoirnation.com, check out the community button at the top menu area, sign up for your account. Once you're inside the community, navigate your way right over to JanYourStory and you will see what it's all about. And we would love to see many of you there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Grant Faulkner here with Brooke Warner for our last and first episode of the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026, because we drop our shows on a Monday and January 1st is Thursday. So Brooke and I decided this gives us a perfect excuse not to do a New Year's show about making resolutions. Just stay in your seats, people. Don't get upset. Or not making resolutions or making different kinds of resolutions this year, which, you know, Brooke, I don't know that anyone needs our thoughts on that, really, or they have them in our back episodes. You know, we've done 8 years in a row of increasingly ambivalent New Year's episodes where we talk about things like why we're challenged by resolutions. And at times we've made bold commitments that we've been unable to keep. In fact, I'm now 20 pounds heavier than when I first started the show. I'm still working on my memoir and I haven't finished sending my Christmas cards out from 3 years ago. But everybody, it's coming. It's coming soon. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything really meaningful that we've imparted to listeners with our New Year's episodes, other than, you know, being one with the many who are in the muddle of life with us, trying to figure out how to get it all done and write our stories in the meantime. So, Brooke, am I being too harsh on ourselves? Should I resolve to be more gentle?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think we always approach the end of the year with like a bit of oh no energy, because we're like, we want to do something that is not New Year's resolution. And, you know, here we are. So we're not doing it, everyone. And I think about the part, are we being harsh? Like, we have perhaps provided some encouragement or permission for people to ease up on themselves. I feel proud about that. But I agree that we have not offered anything revelatory. So I am really glad that we're doing an extension of last week's show, which was about starting and restarting. And we're going to be talking today about how to keep going. Grant, you have years and years of experience with NaNoWriMo under your belt. And I know that you've shared that a lot of people would start NaNoWriMo, but then they couldn't or wouldn't keep going. But then there are the people who drop out of a challenge, that's inevitable, or who are not able to do it every day for whatever reason. I'm just curious about these people, you know, who are the ones that get the writing done, you know, who show up for themselves? Like, what is it that fuels them to keep going through the writing challenge month and beyond?
Yeah, it's a good question. And just for the event itself, when I was at NaNoWriMo and asked what my number one tip for success was, I said it was the most unsexy thing about writing: time management. You know, people don't think about that a lot, but so many people would sign up for NaNoWriMo, which involved writing 1,700 words a day, so a heady number. But they'd oftentimes essentially just assume that time would open up for them. And, you know, it really takes a strategy, though, and a very strong and willful intention to open up a couple hours of writing a day and pretty dramatically change your daily rhythms. So we're only talking about 500 words a day here, but still that's time each day and a new block of time for many and doing something new for many. So thinking about how you can systematize your life to give yourself enough time to write 500 words a day is like really important. I was thinking this morning how I always brush my teeth right before I shower. So I've systematized that. I don't forget it.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, so write with me while I brush my teeth. But beyond that, though, I think the fundamental thing that drives people to keep going through, you know, the muddy middle of their book and to the end is belief in their story, you know. And if you don't believe in your story, If you don't believe in yourself, then you're just likely to quit when you get uncomfortable or when you have a few bad days. And you will get uncomfortable and you will have a few bad days. But belief is a creative fuel, and belief makes you bold, and it helps create commitment, and belief builds stamina. So those people who I think are in service to their story, they tend to keep watering their story, to use your recent metaphor. So how about you, Brooke? You work with a lot of writers. What do you think the difference is between those who stop and those who keep going?
I think there are a lot of factors. And as we talked about in last week's show, there are so many people who stop and then start and stop and then start. And obviously these people are not quitters. They're really like good reasons to put down a memoir. Some projects are not supposed to be seen through to completion or to publication. Sometimes the timing isn't right. Sometimes there's just too much at stake with regard to who else might be impacted. It's too risky, too exposing, so all of that is in the mix with memoir in a pretty unique way. A couple of years ago, Kiese Lehman taught a memoir class for us, and he said pretty straight up, like, you might not be ready, and that lack of emotional readiness will really stop you in your tracks. And he was saying that, around the time that I had put my memoir down, and it resonated with me a lot. But I've always thought about it like that. Like, I put my memoir down, I am going to pick it back up. And so all of that comes with readiness. But sometimes the lack of readiness will feel like lack of courage. And I have certainly wrestled with that myself, like, is this just about I'm scared? And sometimes people have told me, yes, like basically that is what it is. But it's also about knowing yourself, knowing that you can and will be ready for what's coming your way. And that does have to come with courage to be like, okay, I'm putting myself out there into the world. And, knowing that like the writing itself is going to be hard oftentimes because of what you might unearth. And then the publishing part because of putting yourself out there and having your story be public. And I'm saying all of this because, I think the not ready people, myself included, are the ones who write in fits and starts, who drop it and come back to it. And then you have the very ready people. And those people are the ones who are like, they're there. And oftentimes they then are hiring coaches, they're doing writing groups. Maybe they're seeking out community because they're really ready to do it. Grant, you said time management, as such an important way to get through. And I'm going to say the other one that I always say, which is accountability. And I know that we said both of these things in a previous JanYourStory prep episode, but, hire a coach, find a writing group, join our writing community. These things are all about accountability. And I think those are the people who are like, when they're ready, they're going to get it done.
Yeah, we can't say those things enough. So listeners, we're going to keep saying them. Get ready. Can't say them enough to ourselves either. And I want to mention that you can also form a type of community and a type of writing group through Books on Writing, which is one of my favorite ways to do it. And last week, Brooke, you mentioned Salika Jawad's new book, The Book of Alchemy, which I really like. And there's another creativity book that we should evoke this week, and that's Sue Monk Kidd's Writing, Creativity, and Soul, which is just out as of October. And Brooke, you mentioned this is currently on your bedside table. I haven't read it, so tell me what you like about it.
Yeah, before I even say anything, I want to remind people that we had Sue Monk Kidd on the podcast years ago. She is wonderful. Everything she writes is wonderful. And this book is too, of course. It's really about creativity as a calling that you can come back to, which is kind of like the theme that we've been talking about this week and last time, even after years away. And your writing is just always going to be there for you. So it's like this creative well that you come back to. But of course, you're responsible for breathing life into that relationship. The writing doesn't write itself. Sue Monk Kidd does talk about beginnings too, which was the subject of last week's show. And she says that they're an act of faith, something you said in the beginning of this. I think you must have been channeling Sue Monk Kidd earlier. We obviously both completely align with that. Sue Monk Kidd has a very spiritual approach. I mean, that's very on brand for her. And so she's talking about the idea that it's our inner lives, spiritual, emotional, psychological, where creative energy lives, and that we have to listen. We have to listen to ourselves. And, she rather famously was inspired to write her novel, The Secret Lives of Bees, after doing what is called soul collaging. And that is basically a form of collage where you choose images and then let the images speak to you. And that was how she found the Boatwright sisters August, June, and May. And so, I think, Grant, that anyone who starts to write a memoir and really engages with their writing on a deep level will start to see just how spiritual an exercise it really is, because the relationship that you have with yourself starts to deepen. And then you start to unpack and explore meaning. And then you start to attach meaning to things. And that is like another layer of deepening. And then that deepness connects you to more than just yourself. It connects you to the universal. And if we take that, to the next level, then the universal is spirit, not necessarily the religious kind, but the magical, hard to wrap your mind around kind that can make you feel the vastness of everything. And I think once you tap into that, you basically will never run out of things to write about. So anyway, I can't recommend Sue Monk Kidd's work enough. And I think sometimes finding these, inspiring kinds of books that will propel you just to think about spirit and connection and purpose is just a good companion.
Definitely. But it's also, I'm just going to contrast everything you just said, Brooke, which
Perfect.
is absolutely true and meaningful. But I just want to add some levity to things by talking about some of the outrageous things that people have done to express their commitment,
Perfect.
Whether it's inspiration to do such a thing yourself or just to show that sometimes it takes big, bold actions to do the thing you say you want to do. And so these are some, I'll say they're non-practical motivational tricks, but maybe they worked very practically. So the first one, some people make a public declaration that they'll do something like shave their head if they don't finish. And I've also heard of people competing with each other to see who could write the most. And then the person who loses has to shave their head.
That's very big. Shaving your head is like serious business.
Serious business. Or you could dye your hair. You could do many things to your head. I heard that one of these contests actually involved the loser having to sit in a Denny's for 24 hours and order one thing off the menu every hour. So if you combine that with writing and maybe a lot of orders of toast, you're going to get a lot done. And then I know of one person who got a tattoo of her book's title on her forearm. And she said that she got that because she didn't want to spend her life looking at an unfinished book. And it was just a lovely title in nice calligraphic script. So, Brooke, do you have any other preposterous tales that you want to share?
I love the tattoo one. I just hope that her publisher didn't change her book title. She's like, I cannot. It is etched in my skin. I think the most outrageous expression of commitment I ever personally saw was from a student. This is like 10 years ago. She lived in a loft and she got some paint and she painted all over her walls and ceiling like various phrases of commitment. And she sent me the photo. I wish that I knew who she was. Like, it's been so long and I just remembered this and I didn't save the photo, but it was spectacular. This mix between like a shrine and a text collage, except on a giant scale. And it was like an art installation, honestly. And I love this idea so much, but I could never do it because I think my wife's jaw would like completely hit the floor if I decided to paint motivational slogans, all across the walls and ceilings of our house. But that's why we need an artist's loft, actually.
That'll be a New Year's resolution, I think.
Yeah, that's a goal. I know. So do you have something like, less outrageous, but maybe equally motivational?
Yeah, I actually love this one. I really believe in it deeply. And I think, the big one is public declarations. And it's one of the reasons that a writing challenge is motivational and inspiring, because we all have many outlets of public expression these days because we have social media. And if you want to like to be liked online, like me, then a writing challenge offers a lot of, positive reinforcement in the form of cheerleading from your friends and followers. This is when the best of humanity comes out. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing JanYourStory, please come and grab our meme, which you can download on our JanYourStory page as of today. And it declares, I'm writing 500 words per day this January. And then you are saying you're doing it. And then hopefully you'll be more likely to do it than not do it. And if you fall off, you get it back up again. That's the nature of, this kind of creative endeavor. But I do like what you're saying, Brooke, that there's a kind of spiritual connecting experience we can tap into, plus little motivational hacks to help us stay the course.
Yeah, I like that too. Speaking of my wife, she always uses this phrase. She got it from AA, actually. It goes, do what you say you're going to do and finish what you start. And I think about it a lot because it's a good way to live. And if you happen to have a big, audacious goal, it is really easy to start and not finish. But the reason that you started in the first place was because you really, really wanted to do that thing. So I just want to say to all of you that we are here to provide you a structure to do what you say you're going to do and to finish what you start. And perhaps that is the raison d'etre of Memoir Nation, Grant.
Yeah, and I thought of another good way to do what you say you're going to do, and that's to say to someone in your family, your kids or a niece or nephew or grandchildren, would be ideal because, kids will really hold your feet to the fire, tell you the truth, as I've found, in uncomfortable ways, but motivational ways. But here's what you should do. You tell them that you'll give them $500 if you don't finish, or 100 maybe, depending on the age of the kid.
High stakes.
$500, $1 per word. by the time they ask you for their $500 for the fifth or sixth time, you'll be hiring a coach and in a writing group and checking in regularly with Memoir Nation. So we're here for you.
I love it. Great hack. I think it requires, desperate measures sometimes. That's why I was saying high stakes. But in the meantime, before you get desperate, come to Memoir Nation. We are starting this week. If you're listening right now and it's not Thursday yet, then you have time to get yourself mentally ready. So if it is Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, we haven't started. If it is Thursday, we have started and we have a write-in for you. If it is Friday, we have started and we have a write-in for you. If it is Saturday, we have started and we have a write-in for you. And that goes on and on. So come check it out. Come say hi, come to a write-in, come record your word count, introduce yourself, say hi, find us on memoirnation.com. You join by following the community menu item where you sign up for free and then you follow to JanYourStory inside the community. There is a button or a link that says start here. And then there's a orientation. So you'll be off to the memoir races or the memoir jog or the memoir hike or slow walk, whatever suits you.
I like them all. Maybe do them all. Well, thank you, listeners. And one big happy new year. Let's make this next year the year of personal story, the year of getting more writing done than we've ever gotten done, and the year of watering our memoirs and watching them thrive. I'm looking forward to being with all of you this coming month.
Happy New Year, everybody.